Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Time for an album review, The Black Keys, El Camino. These guys are a rock duo that I've been following ever since this blues rock and garage rock revival got kinda huge in the early to mid 2000s. I reviewed their album Brothers last year, but I gotta be completely honest and say I was not all that excited to hear El Camino. In all the years I've been listening to the Black Keys, especially releases like Thick Freakness and Rubber Factory, and an amazing EP that they have released of nothing but Junior Kimbrough songs. The duo has never really thrown me a left hook or a surprise. And this is kind of a complaint I had with the band's last album. I think it's an even bigger complaint for me with this album. I think the Black Keys are long overdue for a direction change. But there is a silver lining in that cloud, and it is that the Black Keys are a picture of consistency. Every time they drop an album, it's got pretty much the sound you would expect, and it always gets the same semi-glowing or glowing reviews. There are some detractors here and there, but not so many that they would be a big deal. And as long as the Black Keys stick to the style and the ideas and the sounds and the songwriting that has worked for them up until this point, who's really gonna complain? Not to say there's been no change whatsoever in this band's career. Early releases were much simpler, much more skeletal, much more raw, and that changed after the band worked with Danger Mouse on the album Attack and Release. But to be honest, it's maybe my least favorite Keys album. And ever since then, I feel like their songs have just kind of been getting simpler and more straightforward. I just think the kind of romantic interplay that you would get between the guitar and drums on an album like Magic Potion has kind of faded away a bit in exchange for writing songs that are poppier, hookier, more instant. And because of that, I feel like Black Keys' new stuff contains less subtleties, secrets. On El Camino, you basically kind of get this same flavor of modernized but also nostalgic garage and blues rock. The hooks hit in roughly the same way, the guitars feature an array of different tones and effects. The drums really force some nice grooves. The lyrical subjects revolve around girls and heartbreak and relationships, as usual, with a few kind of stragglers varying from that formula. Lots of warm bass lines, fuzzy, distorted pentatonic guitar solos, a little extra piano and organ and background vocals here and there. Call me deaf, but I feel like the Black Keys are working with roughly the same ideas as they were on Brothers, with a few spots here and there that kind of stick out, like the first single, Lonely Boy, which to me feels like a newer take on the raw sound the Black Keys used to play with all the time. The track Little Black Submarine starts off as a really nice acoustic ballad and actually kind of sounds like a track maybe the White Stripes could have written on the album White Blood Cells. Sister has one of the hardest and catchiest grooves that these guys have ever produced. And Nova Baby is a notably sunnier song than a lot of the tracks on here. But the rest of the tracks on here, for me, don't really feel new. I get tired of ideas when they feel kind of overused, I guess. And when those ideas get overused is really kind of a personal preference, Obviously, my opinion of this record is heavily impacted by just my musical preferences and how much music from these guys I have heard. If you're relatively new to the Black Keys and maybe Brothers, for example, was your first introduction to them, you're probably going to enjoy this. And if this is your first Black Keys album, try it out. It's really not that bad. It's pretty solid. There's not really any potholes or anything, but that's because the Black Keys don't really take that many risks outside of what has already worked for them in the past, in my opinion. It's consistent, it's fast, it's easy, it's kind of catchy, but I know personally I'm not going to remember most of these songs come next month. My only major complaint is that I feel like some of the hooks on here lyrically can get a little corny, like Hey nah nah, she's a money maker. Hey nah nah, she's gonna take you. But outside of that, the production on this thing is pretty good. The guitars and the drums and the extra instrumentation, the bass, the warm bass, all of it sounds really nice. Feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this. But what do you think of it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you love the Black Keys because of how consistent they are? If you are a fan and you have been a fan from the early days up until this point, let me know. Anthony Fantano, the Black Keys, forever.